So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been in this wood products industry for 46 years. It's been a great career, a lot of different experiences out there that I've had, and it's kind of molded me into who I am today. For the last 5 years, I've been CEO of Timber Products Company. It's privately held, over 100 years old, owned by the Gagne family. And prior to that, I was a senior vice president over solid wood, which is lumber and plywood, engineered wood for Roseburg Forest Products. And had that role for about 8 years. Prior to that, I had been in some partnerships, owned my own businesses, and got to experience that entrepreneurship. Some of the outcomes didn't always work out the way I wanted them to, but we moved on, and those experiences became really a foundation for the next step in my career. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about this new wood product sales minor.
Wood product sales. Really, it's the culmination of collaboration between the School of Business, wood science, and industry, and some other stakeholders that were involved. And kind of thinking back, at least my involvement in this was working on the curriculum committee in renewable materials with Eric Hansen. And we brought in some industry folks and talked about, you know, what are we looking for in industry in a graduate, someone that's coming out of school. And we wanted to try to, one of the things that came out of that was to try to give them a little bit more exposure into what you would call the real world experiences.
Can you speak to the importance of networking, how it can be important when getting your first job and then throughout your career?
Certainly. It's how most of us end up getting a job, is by knowing somebody or being acquainted, having introduced, having been involved with them in some manner socially, and then, you know, almost from day one, and I tell new hires, you are building your brand from day one, your personal brand. And so the things that you do, the way you behave, the questions you ask, all of those things will help you, or they can hinder you as you go through your career. So that's why I really love some of the things we're doing here at Oregon State, getting students to industry events, because the students get to be right there connecting, you know, with industry people. They get to see them, quote, in action, and vice versa. You know, when they're in a classroom and we have a guest speaker come in, the students get an opportunity by the questions they ask. They can impress on that individual, and they go away with a favorable impression. And I'm shameless about admitting that, I hired Oregon State graduates because of the interactions that we had in the classroom and got to know them. And so when they were ready to go and they had their degrees, they really had a leg up on other applicants simply because we knew them. And the other aspect of networking in the industry is, particularly in sales, but it's also true of manufacturing or the other elements, relationships matter. And I can't say it enough, that how you interact with people and how you're known, again, it isn't just a sales function, it goes across all disciplines.
So what will this wood product sales class look like, and what kind of material will you be going over?
Well, what we've done here with the class is to divide each week into a broad product category so that we can kind of delve into that say it's lumber, and so we can talk about, the major producers in that, how the product is actually brought to market, the channels of distribution, and with each of the weeks, so we would go through those product segments. I've been able to get a speaker to come in and from that particular product line and then talk to the class as well. And so then they could actually have some Q&A going back and forth about what's really going on. We have access to industry materials. There's plenty of media. And in fact, I have Patrick Adams, who's the publisher of 526 Media. It's the merchant BPD. It's a leading media in North America for wood products. And so they're very famous guys because they go to the trade shows and they take photos of the participants and then they put them in their publications. So we've got some fun stuff planned as well, and it'll be great to have Patrick involved. Another speaker I have lined up is Jim Enright. He's the CEO of Pacific Wood Tech. Jim and I have known each other for a very long time, 30-some years. He was actually a principal in a large tilt-up concrete construction company that did wood roofs. This was in Southern California. Then he came to work with us at Willamette Industries, and he went on to have his career path. We went separate paths, but we've maintained our friendship.
What would you say to someone who said forest product sales sounds boring?
Well, I would tell them they need to look deeper. And I have a story about that that goes back to myself. And I was going to school, working in the mill at the same time. And my father-in-law was in sales, in plywood sales at the time, and he had his cronies. And they knew I was a business student, and so they thought, oh, you know, he's a good worker, he's doing his thing. And they called me in and said, you know, you ought to think about getting into sales. And my instant deal was, no way, I'm not doing that. That's not my gig. And they said, you don't know what you're talking about. And it was kind of like, whoa. And they were right. I didn't. I had made an assumption about what that would look like, and I didn't really look into it, and I didn't understand the depth of technical knowledge, the skills that it takes to discern, you know, the whole selling process. I mean, you know, it just goes on. And so it could be boring if you want to make it boring, but I would say you might not be maximizing your opportunity if you think it's boring.
So how does this minor better equip business majors to enter the workforce?
I think it really provides an opportunity for them to warm up to the industry, to actually understand some of the vocabulary, the cultures that are out there, the business styles that are out there. And so they don't come in totally fresh. We used to talk about drinking from the fire hose when a new person comes on board because there's so much going on. And if you've had the experience in a classroom setting of having industry people come in and talk, you've interacted with them, maybe you had an opportunity by virtue of this minor to go to one of the trade association meetings or whatever, it just gives you that head start where others might not have it of feeling like you get this, you understand what's going on out there. The takeaway here, the important thing is, you know, that a student's going to get to have an opportunity with this minor to really get a glimpse into a specific industry, so they can marry that up with their major degree and go out in the world.